It is factual that there's more input than ever before. Do you need to be more busy? No. You can be in a place where you make choices about what you do or don't do with your time. You have to set the parameters and boundaries, because if you try to handle all the input coming at you, you will be crazy.
Top leaders, meaningful conversation, actionable advice, bulldoze complacency, ignite inspiration, create impact. Produced by the Southwestern family of companies. This is the Action Catalyst.
Are you interested in advertising with the Action Catalyst? Our listeners could be hearing about your brand right here, right now. For details, shoot us an email at info@theactioncatalyst.com.
Elizabeth Saunders is an entrepreneur, and she talks about productivity and time management. So, Elizabeth, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I want to talk first about this concept of busyness. It's like, are people really more busy today than ever before, or does it just kind of feel like that?
Absolutely. So, number one, it is factual that there's more input than ever before. So in the past, you would have mail that came once a day. And when the mail came, you could go get it. And that was all you were going to get for 24 hours, maybe even longer if it was Saturday and you had to wait until Monday. Whereas now we've got email, we have text, we have all these social media. Before, there was one phone line in your house, and that was for everyone in that house. So there was just a lot less communication. So is there more input? Yes. Do you need to be more busy? No. And the difference is you can be in a place where you make choices about what you do or don't do with your time. And the fact that we have technology, whether you're in sales or an entrepreneur or lots of other things, can help you get more done faster. But you have to set the parameters and boundaries on what's in or what's out so you don't get overwhelmed. Because if you try to handle all the input coming at you, yeah, you will be crazy busy and running around like chicken with its head cut off. And a lot of that comes down to the expectation in regards to whether or not you feel overwhelmed. I have executive clients who, on purpose, won't answer most email. And they just know that if something really important, their assistant or someone else will follow up with them on it. And they don't feel overwhelmed by it. And then there's other people who, if their inbox is in at zero all the time, are freaking out. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, it varies depending on your job. I'm not saying, no one quote me, Elizabeth said, never answer email. But what I am saying is your expectations of what does or doesn't need to be done for you to feel good about your life and what you're doing have a huge impact on whether or not you have that busy or overwhelmed feeling, or whether you're just in a place of peace where you're totally present to the moment and loving what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. On the topic of email, do you have any strategies or tips or things that you see for helping people kind of manage email? Because that's a big stressor, it seems like.
Definitely. So a few things. Number one, if you have the ability to have an assistant help you just clear things out and do standard responses, do that. That's a huge benefit to you, particularly if you're in sales or in other sorts of positions where you have a lot of scheduling coordination that needs to happen. That can literally cut hours and hours from your week of having someone else just take care of that in advance, follow up on whatever you need to know about phone numbers or locations or that sort of thing, so you don't need to deal with that. And you can also set up filters so that those emails get sent to the right person if they don't go through your inbox, or even with all the meeting confirmations, so they get filtered into particular folders so that they're not cluttering up your inbox. Another thing that I really, really love and use every day are something called text expanders. And what that means is I have software downloaded on my computer, very inexpensive, and you have short abbreviations that then pop up to give you standard responses. So standard email replies I send, standard even sentences or paragraphs of text I tend to need, I have in little short abbreviations that are maybe 3 to 5 letters long. Give that standard reply, and then I just send the email. So it's way easier than copy and pasting something. I think it's even easier than having draft email, because I simply put it into wherever I am on my computer, whether it's in my email program or in a Word document or on a web page, and those snippets of text expand or whatever I need. The one I use is called Type It For Me, and that works on Mac. There's a few other tools that work on Mac and then also some on PC. If you just Google Text Expander, you'll get some good options there. And you just set up little clippings or little abbreviations. And I do everything from, like I said, whole email to have an abbreviation for my name or for my mobile phone number or for my address or anything that I might have to type again. I have down to basically a 2-letter or 3-letter abbreviation, so I don't have to type it. So that is really helpful. Then also in regards to just the time investment side of it, I find that people setting aside dedicated time to answer email is much more effective than just randomly trying to squeeze it in. Because what happens when you quote unquote squeeze it in is that you end up reading but not responding to a lot of emails. And the email that are truly most important, a lot of the time, they maybe require a nuanced approach, you never end up doing because it takes more than 5 minutes. So you just let them linger in your inbox and feel guiltier about it every day. Whereas if you set aside maybe 30 minutes 2 or 3 times a day, or if you prefer to do it all at once, an hour, hour and a half, then you can process through when you read something, immediately respond and get those emails that are truly important done instead of never responding to them.
That term, what does that mean? Like when you talk about time investment?
Definitely. So I think time management, traditional time management is dead. What I see as the next evolution is what I call time investment. And that is about deciding what's important and what's not, saying no as much as possible, and then really focusing in on what matters. What are those high value activities? So that is, first of all, just cutting out a whole bunch of things and just saying, I'm not doing this and I'm not going to feel guilty that I'm not doing it, because that's the fastest way to get something done. Then from there, I have what I call an I and O technique. And what that stands for is investment, neutral, and optimize. So there are certain perks of your life or time that I see as investment activities. So basically they pay returns on that time. It's not about like ABC priority, like what needs to get done today versus tomorrow, that sort of thing. It's about looking at what's the ROI on that time invested. So professionally, an investment activity may be setting up a system that will mean you never need to do something again. Or it could be moving ahead a huge contract that is going to help you meet this quarter's quota or maybe half a year's quota. Those things where if you put in a few extra hours or even a few extra days, this exponential return on that investment. Neutral is where there's a 1-to-1 ratio. So maybe this could be like having a meeting with your staff or talking to your assistant or something like that. You need to put time into it. We don't want to just cut it, but spending a lot more time in that staff meeting is not going to probably lead to 500% return on that time. So you want to get them done, but you don't want to spend any more time than is necessary doing them. And then optimize activities are things that you want to accomplish as quickly as possible. So like I was saying with the text expanders, answering a repetitive email is not something where there's any value in that taking any more of my time than it needs to take. So if I have a little snippet of text that pops up, that's what I should use. Coordinating, scheduling things, that can be something that can be delegated to an assistant, or if you're doing it yourself, you can use tools like Calendly that make it easy for people to book a time with you, or Time Trade or other tools like that. And it syncs with my Google Calendar. So then I can send people to a link and then they can select a time that works for them, have the appointment set up, and it will automatically go to my Google Calendar. And as I make changes to my Google Calendar, Calendly will update so that it will show me as busy on the times that I'm no longer available. So it's basically a very simple way for people to make appointments with me and me to have total control over my busy times, my free times, and I'll set up a lot of parameters. So with Calendly, I can designate whether or not it's a 30-minute meeting, a 60-minute meeting. I can say how many meetings I want in a day, if I want buffer after meetings or before, all those sorts of things. It lets me tell it what is appropriate, and then it gives people the freedom to set up the appointments they want within those parameters.
On the topic of calendars, what's your current stance on using to-do lists, schedules, and calendars? You think like they're still useful tools, or are those things that have been left behind?
I think that calendars in particular are still extremely useful. And why that is they give you clarity. I think one of the biggest reasons people don't invest their time well, or even don't eliminate things like we were talking about, is because they don't have clarity on what's truly significant or important. And so then they just fall into a reactive mode as they sit at their computer, look at the emails that come in, look at who comes by their desk, go to their meetings. And they haven't even stopped to think about what might be important. So what I find is that when you have your calendar laid out and you reserve time in advance for those top priority, most significant activities, we then force everything else to fit around them. And that's particularly important with individuals who have a lot of meetings and tend to can get booked back to back. They have to reserve time in their calendar in advance to just say, this will be time I move forward on priority projects, or else they will never get done. And I really think that's where weekly and daily planning come into play, which is something I absolutely advocate. And weekly planning in particular is an opportunity to make strategic decisions about what you will or won't do. On a weekly basis, they review the prior week, see what needs to be wrapped up or moved forward or taken off. And then they look over the coming week. And that's a great time, if they haven't done so already, to decline meetings, to postpone things, to take things off their schedule, and really clarify based on the current reality, what are my top priorities and how do I make those happen? So the calendar should not be like a mindless thing that you just follow. But I think it can be a good place to give people a realistic sense of their capacity. Because often what happens is, like I said, people don't have any time reserved for those key investment activities. So they don't get to simply completely overcommit. They say, oh, sure, I'll work on that project or be on that presentation or do this or that, without ever stopping and looking to see on their calendar if they have the time to pay for whatever commitments that they're making.
What about to-do lists?
Yeah. It's so interesting you asked that question because I've been evolving in that regard. And I think part of that was based on the sort of work I did. So before being in this whole area of time management, time investment, I was in the world of magazine journalism. And so a lot of my work was project-based, and I had a lot of different deadlines that needed to get done. And it was actually quite helpful to have things like my project list and to-do list and all of that. And I still do have like to-do list places where I write down potential items. But what I'm finding more and more is that if something is truly important to me, it should just go right on my calendar, either as an event where I'm going to get the item to happen, or as a task or all events at the top of the day when it's time sensitive and needs to get done. Otherwise, it's probably not that important and either shouldn't be on a to-do list at all or should be on some sort of someday maybe list. So I've been evolving in that area more and more towards it's important, just schedule it now. And if it's not that important, maybe you shouldn't even write it down or hold yourself accountable to it. What I found worked best is to do something I call priorities-based decision making. And what that is a filter that helps you determine, it can help you determine from an overall life view or from a narrow view, like just within your professional life, what needs to be attended to and what doesn't. So for example, my priorities-based filter would look like, God and my faith at the top, then my family, then my friends, then my business, then wellness and leisure activities. So as I'm making decisions about what's going to be on my schedule, I want to make sure that I have the top things there first. So like I have time to go to church, or I have time to connect with my family or my friends. And then from there, I can decide on things that I'm going to do for my business or leisure, that sort of thing. And so it's about making sure that the higher level items are attended to first before I do the lower level items. Then if I'm drilling into a specific area, like for instance, with my business, I have a sense of, okay, what are the top business development activities that I need to be working on? And then what are some of the lower level priorities? So it's like, yeah, business development at the top, and at least for me, and then serving my current clients. And then, I might have some business upgrades or business systems that I want to work on. And then there's everything else after that. And so I make sure that my top order items are put in first. And then if I don't have time for the things at the bottom, it's okay.
Awesome. Well, Elizabeth, where can people go to learn more about you? Where do you want to direct people?
Well, the best place to go is to reallifee.com, and I'll spell that for you. So REALLIFE, and then another E as in Elizabeth.com.
Very cool. Well, it's been awesome to have you here, and thank you for coming on the show, and we wish you all the very best.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast, and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And as always, thanks for listening.